Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of this week's Team Jack Live. We are joined by Husker legend, homegrown Husker. He lives here in Nebraska, Eric Crouch. Again, we are doing this every single Thursday at 1 p.m. to stay in touch with the Team Jack family, stay in touch with everyone that's been so generous with their time, with their donations, and helped us grow this from the ground up. Eric has been a pivotal point in all of that. He's been with us for a long time, and we're super excited to welcome the Heisman winning quarterback in with us. Eric, how you doing, my guy?
I'm doing great. Jeremiah, how about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing well, man. My wife's family's in town this week, so we get to see them, hang out with them, and my little man gets to hang out with his cousins and just spend some
Nice.
good quality family time. So it can't beat that.
Cool. Yeah, no, you can't. I love the jerseys in the background. That's pretty cool.
Oh, appreciate it, man.
I
This is
got
what I do.
I got to take a little lesson from you on that one.
I got to get them a little bit more professionally done. Right now, they're just on red coat hangers. We'll get that fixed here eventually.
Yeah.
But tomato,
Start
tomato.
small, man. Start small.
So, well, Eric, you've actually been involved with Team Jack since the start. 2013, you helped create. You went to Atkinson, Nebraska, about 3.5 hours from here, from where you are, to attend the first event ever. You helped them raise almost $250,000 in one night, a town of 1,200 people, which is incredible. I'm
Yeah.
sure you remember that night, but what are some things that stick out from you that night and really kind of ignited your passion for Team Jack?
Yeah, I think it goes back to how generous Nebraskans are. And then obviously, how, you know, Jack and the Nebraska program touched people's hearts. And it was just kind of a cool connection. I was happy to be involved. It was a no-brainer. I was happy that they reached out to me, and you know, uh, I've been involved with quite a few charities. This is one that, it's a strong one, and I think when you talk about, youth and kids and cancer and specifically brain cancer, I just think that it's such a great thing to bring awareness to, and I'm just happy to be talking again with you guys here today.
Absolutely, man. We're excited to have you back. I mean, we know I get to see you every year at the gala, which is awesome. You've been super involved in that, and it's good to see you. I've got to see you around the stadium a lot more since the last couple of years now that I've been retired
Yep.
and moved around. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to keep this connection going here, and the Team Jack one is always um, awesome. So let's go ahead and get started here. We have some Q&As coming up here. Again, if you're live here in the audience, send some questions for Eric or myself or both of us about Team Jack, about football, about whatever you guys want to talk about. We're here to do this live Q&A for you guys. And so, Eric, we got to start off here. Congratulations on being named to the College Football Hall of Fame last month. I mean, that is so cool. I mean, that had to be a really cool moment for you. What does that mean to you? And how did that, when you've heard that, how did your emotions go?
Oh man, I was blown away. Super excited, shocked almost. I thought I was getting a prank call from Coach Osborne, Matt Davison, and Scott Frost. I just didn't. I was like, "What are you guys doing? You must be too bored here with what's going on in the spring." But no, I guess it was true. I was on vacation. I was in Jamaica with some friends and my wife, and we were just on the beach. We settled down on the beach, and Matt Davison texts me, and he's like, "Hey, can you talk?" And I'm like, not really. I mean, I'm on the beach, and I could, but I don't know that my phone works all that well down there. And so we tried it. The call didn't go through, and he started asking me about FaceTime. And then I'm like, man, what's going on? Like this usually is like, okay, cool. Talk to you when you get back, or have a fun vacation or something like that. But so he was kind of continuing the ball, like rolling, like he had to get to me. So it was kind of cool to see that. And then they finally got us on FaceTime on my wife's phone, and then I had a picture of Scott and Matt and Coach Osborne, and they broke me the news, and I was just like, really, man, wow, I'm so honored. To be honest, Jeremiah, I mean, this game. It's not a one man show. It is like the ultimate team sport, and that's what I love about football. And especially as the quarterback, you have an appreciation for what everyone is doing around you, because they're the ones that put you on the top of the mountain. And I respect all those players just for that reason, because a lot of times the QB gets all the, news clippings and the awards and things like that. I mean, exactly. You're blocking for all these guys for all those years. And so for me to just be thankful of people, other than the ones that stand up and take the glory for it, like the linemen and the coaches and your support system, your family, everybody that was there along the way, was just so pivotal and should be so happy as well that it's their award too.
Yeah, I love when a quarterback says that, and that does. I mean, have you got some of your old teammates that have reached out and called you about this and how they've been there for you, and what's the outpour from your former teammates been like over this?
Yeah, I mean, it's been great. You know, I'm just kind of blown away still, to be honest. You know, leading up to all the other awards, my name was mentioned, and I kind of had a feeling like maybe something could happen. And, you know, I guess after 9 years of being on the nomination list, I kind of just gave up. I just didn't really think like, man, if it's meant to happen, it's going to happen, you know? And so the minute you do that, right? I mean, the minute you just lay back and all of a sudden, like, it doesn't matter, you don't care. Next thing you know, like, boom, you get the phone call. And I just think it's great, you know, especially at a time right now. It's interesting with winning the Heisman and 9/11 happened, and then, you know, you got this pandemic happening. It just seems like my awards or accolades, they always follow something extremely meaningful, and it really sheds light not only on what happens to me, but how important just friendships and life and family are, and relationships with your teammates and your coaches and your mentors. And I'm glad, because that's who I am. And I think it's pretty darn cool that huge reminder and the reflection of those things that happened during the years that these things come for me is just kind of chilling, actually.
That's awesome, man. Well, you mentioned it, and I know you probably told the story 100 times, but I mean, you mentioned that Heisman Trophy in 2001. I mean, I'm sure that's something you still reflect back on, and again, super thankful and grateful for everyone that helped get you there. But how does that moment compare with the College Football Hall of Fame moment? I mean, I'm sure they're very similar emotions, but also very different. Like you said, pretty spread apart.
Yeah.
I mean, if you could compare and contrast those two moments, what would you say those were like for you?
Yeah. Well, they're both very cool, emotional moments in a different way. I mean, the Heisman is the Heisman. I mean, I don't know what else to say there. It's still, it's like the most select group of guys. But then the next line is the College Football Hall of Fame. You know, I guess you could argue Super Bowl MVPs and all, you know, you could get up into that, and that's a pretty select group. It really is. Hall of Famers in the NFL. I mean, I'm never going to have that. So this is, you know, 19, 20 years down the line for me since graduating or winning the Heisman or the other awards, that, man, it's just to be able to reflect on what happened in that era of our time and window in my life is just incredible. And they both have different meanings at different times in my life. And, you know, I think at 23, I was just rolling, you know, like, you get the Heisman, you're on the top of the world. The next thing you know, you're getting an NFL draft. You got the, you know, things are clicking, and you're not, you know, moving on fast. Well, you know, football has been out of my. I mean, I retired in 2011 or 12, somewhere there. I can't remember. I was 32, and so I mean, it's a different reflection. And now to me, it's just kind of like, man, I got to look back on all these things I never really thought about. Like, oh wow, I've been thinking about these 4 big plays. Well, man, my career had some really important plays that people never talk about, and I never really talk about or think about. So it's just cool for me to go back and start to think about those moments, those plays. Brings a smile to my face.
Speaking of some of those plays, I mean, everyone knows some of your biggest moments, right? I mean, the Missouri run, when you truck stick the guy from Iowa. But like, what are some of those things that maybe wasn't such a monumental play that you see over and over again, or maybe it was like a practice or a moment with friends that like stick out to you? Because I mean, I know I have a bunch of them, and everyone has a bunch of them, from little tiny moments that really stick with you as a player more than the bigger moments on the big stage when they actually happen. Do you have some of those?
Oh, absolutely. And many people, fans, they may or may not remember these moments, but for me, no order of importance, to be honest. Just kind of listing off the top of my head here, but a throw to Tracy Wistrom, third, fourth down against Notre Dame in overtime. We needed a first down. We were like, I mean, it was 9.5 yards, almost a full 10 yards for a first down. And Tracy ran an incredible route. I threw the ball. We just read each other perfectly. Boom, he gets the first down. Boom, we're in the end zone, win the overtime game against Notre Dame. It was just huge. I threw 5 touchdown passes, believe it or not, in one game. I mean, shoot, here we are, option QB, 5 touchdown passes against Iowa at home. I mean, those are things that are cool. A run against Texas in the Big 12 championship on 4th and 1 for a touchdown. It helps us win the Big 12 championship, which is Nebraska's last conference title. The play at my sophomore year, I wasn't even a starting quarterback when this happened. They moved me to receiver. I caught a pass for a touchdown. I threw a pass for a touchdown, ran a pass for a touchdown, and my picture was next to Johnny Rodgers in the newspaper on Sunday morning. And so just some of those things that people just don't see. There's a couple plays as well, but I mean, that's just to name a few that have a significance in, who I am and that impacted games in a big way.
So I know you got into coaching for a little while. You got involved with coaching,
Yeah.
and talk a little bit about the difference between that transition from player to coach. Not many people make that transition, or they don't understand. I know that just I'm coaching high school kids like on the side here, and for me it's hard because it's like you just assume everyone has all this knowledge that you have, and that's why I don't think every player makes a great coach. But as quarterbacks, especially, you guys have the mind for it all, right? The game. What was it like going to the other side, being the coach and helping mold kids and groom kids, and not just football, but life? And what are some things you liked about it, disliked about it, or is it something you continue want to do in your future, or are you kind of putting that one to bed?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I love football. You love football. We love football. It's going to be part of us for the rest of our. I can't imagine someday that you just flip the switch and football's over. You never think about it, don't do anything, never talk about it. I don't think it's in our makeup. And so like, I guess I'm a football junkie. I guess I'm a junkie. And coaching was part of my life before I got the gig at Midlands with Coach Jamrod coaching in college football. But I coached my son's football team for 5 years as the head coach, and we ran the offense and we had a blast. And you get a different perspective at that age group. And so we took them from like 4th grade to 9th grade, and you learn a lot about how they are growing and developing. And then, I've worked with high school kids, and then I went to and every one of them, they're still kids, even in college. And so you really have to take off the hat of just X's and O's, and it's about coaching them, about making good decisions in everything that they do. I had more personal conversations with my players at Midland about school. And about making good decisions outside of the classroom than probably diving into the playbook. It's a time in your life where you have a lot of freedom and you're becoming who you are. And to have like a sounding board or a good coach and great mentors along your side, because it's so easy to make a mistake and regret it, and it haunts you for the rest of your life. And so I think coaches are so important. With that said, I run a business. I couldn't put 80 hours a week or more that was being asked of me. Now, if I didn't have my business, it might be different. If I would have got into coaching right outside of football, might have been different instead of taking this business route. But I enjoy my business. It's kind of the lifeblood for my family and I. So I couldn't pull completely away from that. But I still am involved in helping kids learn about the game of football. We have actually I'm wearing the shirt, ARQ, ARC Athletics. We have a 7-on-7 organization, and 4th grade through 9th grade, and we're hitting spring and fall leagues, teaching kids the X's and O's and building their confidence outside on the perimeter game. So, that keeps me engaged. It really does. So I'm excited to still have that, but probably going to pull back from any like full-time coaching gigs.
Yeah, man, I think people underestimate. I especially as a player. I mean, you think we put time in as players, and then I watch these coaches that literally have cots in their offices because they work till 3, 4 a.m. and the first meeting's at 6 a.m. And It's definitely a
Yeah.
different lifestyle. And I bet you can attest to this. Coaches' wives are special ladies.
Yeah, yes, they are. Yes, absolutely. I found that out for a good solid year and a half, 2 years that, you have to have a wife that's definitely supporting you. I remember Turner Gill, I was asking Turner, and that was one of the first things he said is, man, you bet your wife better be on board.
Absolutely. And my wife was one that was like, yeah, you're not doing that. So that got taken off my board pretty quickly. Let's talk a little Husker football here, man. First of all, no
For
spring,
sure.
the quarantine and all of that. And I mean, talk a little bit about, just how important spring ball really is. I know people say, yeah, it's important, but I mean, for a young team that the 2020 Huskers are going to be, I don't think people understand how the lack of spring this year is really going to hurt Scott Frost and company.
Yeah, I think it's going to hurt a lot of teams. I think there's going to be a divide with teams this year. I mean, the teams that stayed engaged and the teams that stayed focused and they didn't let the pandemic derail their mentality of what they're about and what their goals are probably going to be pretty solid if football season happens. It's cool to see Coach Osborne talk about spring practice and how important spring was during their virtual spring game. So that was really cool. I mean, he hit out a lot of great points. For me, it was a great opportunity to just bond with your team, get on the same page with players, build confidence in your offense and defense and special teams. And, it just keeps your mind fresh for football. And you actually get to go out there. You're getting live reps. It's just so important. It's going to show up. I think it might show up in a few different ways this season. It might show up in form of injuries. It might show up in the form of, how our expectations of executing plays. It might show up in overall confidence of players. And like I said, I think there's going to be a big divide. I think we're going to look at it. You're going to go, ooh, spring, no spring, and those guys were affected. And then you're going to say, well, geez, these guys right here, man, they stayed with it. I mean, these guys look good. So I think you're going to see a fine one.
Yeah, I mean, one line of position obviously that I love paying attention to is the offensive line. And I mean, year round, I think that one of the biggest guys that this is going to detriment is a guy like Bryce Benhart. Because I mean, he's a guy that we were grooming to go take over that right tackle spot so that we can move Farniak to left guard and like all these moving pieces. But now it's like, okay, you have to prove yourself during fall camp, and then we got to decide if you can protect Adrian or McCaffrey or whoever it is. And I don't know if that's going to happen. And then you look on the defensive side of the ball, and it's like, who's up front? Like you don't have the time to play those chess matches and see what game works best for everyone. So like you said, the confidence piece to it and everything. But what are you looking for from this team going into year 3 Scott Frost program? You've lived through. I mean, you were there involved when I was there with Coach Bo. I've seen you around when Coach Riley was there. I mean, you're around now with Coach Frost. Like, what are some themes that you've seen in the past that you want to see either go away or continue? And really, overall, year 3, some expectations from you.
The biggest thing for me is a chip on your shoulder. I mean, coming out and just knowing that you're going to beat someone's butt. I miss the days of preparing. Practice is way harder than the games. And I kind of felt like lately the games are a lot harder than practice. And I just hope that they get back to where practice means something, because that's where you get to put your work in. And then the game is basically a reflection of how you practice. And so I'm hoping that the practices get harder. Guys get pushed. They get tougher mentally. The domination comes back where you're walking onto that field and the other teams are already deflated before the kickoff even starts. I mean, that's just how it was. I mean, I don't know how. I mean, I hope we get it back. I believe that Scott will do it, and he knows what it takes. I mean, he was there when it was rolling, So that's one of the things I see that sticks out to me. And the other thing that sticks out to me is just a defensive culture too, with the black shirts in mind, where I'm telling you, I mean, like I said before, man, I appreciate the defense because they would always put us in short field positions or create a turnover. We'd roll out with momentum and like have all these good things in our favor. And when we got the ball on offense, and so that's important. I mean, it sucks getting the ball before the 20 and you got to drive the length of the field. I mean, so nice to roll out there with a turnover and score on 20-yard drives. You know, it's so nice that your special team sets you up to drive the field for 35, 40 yards, or they just score. You know, I mean, those types of things, big plays. The big plays got to come back. We need some big plays.
Absolutely. I think that's going to be one thing. I mean, again, who are some guys on offense and even on defense? Maybe you can say some guys that you're excited for this year individually. I mean, I know I got some guys that I think I'm poised to watch this year really break out. For me, it's a guy like Jack Stoll, who I think is poised to have a big year as a tight end in this offense. But I mean, who are some of the guys that you've singled out over their years, or maybe they're new to the program, that you're excited for this season to watch?
Well, I'm always following Adrian. You know, I think that it's kind of a strange year he had last year. It almost like people talked about it as a setback. And I don't know. I didn't look at his numbers or anything like that. I just think it was just the overall feel of how the season went. You know, and I think that he's a tremendous athlete. He's got I mean, big, strong, smart, great leader, can make all the throws and the plays that you need. It just seems at times that like he never got to get into a rhythm. Mm. So I think for him, it's going to be important for him to, you know, complete some short throws, some QB draws, get positive yards. Don't, you know, take sacks. Don't just throw the ball up for grabs. Like, be very smart with the ball. So like for me, watching him and you know, dissecting that QB spot, you know, making good decisions, positive yards, I think are just, and they don't have to be huge plays, but just those big plays will come. We know he's got it in him. So just, you know, get into a rhythm and those big plays will happen. And I just hope that the team jumps on board with him, and, you know, he's got weapons and things that, you know, I feel like he just hasn't had a lot around him in terms of like, you know, tons of talent. Like, he's got to get the ball out. You know, we can't rely on one guy to win. I mean, just I know that you can't do that. You need teammates. You need receivers in this offense. You need guys with speed. You need a running back that can carry the ball. I mean, you need tight ends, like you said, Stoll. I mean, he's got to make some plays. Like, everybody's got to contribute, and I think that's the way this offense picks it back up.
I completely agree. You nailed it on the head there. I mean, I love hearing it from the quarterback perspective, just because, again, you're the captain of that offense. All right, guys, we're wrapping up here. We're going to go to some questions from the audience. Again, if you're sitting here in the chat, please send your questions in for Eric or myself about whatever you guys would like. Eric, our first question we have is, did you ever get an explanation from the referee on why the face mask penalty was not called in that Kansas State game?
I thought we'd get through one interview without something like this.
I know. I'm sorry. I have to ask it, man. They brought it in.
Hey, I like it. No, funny story on that. I actually, like, you know, as a father, you're telling your kids, man, when things go bad, you just got to keep your cool, and, you know, no swearing and all this and that. And, you know, and I just looking back on this video, like of the game video, they got me there, and I'm just like the biggest like F-bomb ever, like, for me, right? And then it's like, that's just, you know, I try to hold those to a stark minimum if possible. And it's just like, there's my kids watching it come out like, hey, Dad, you did the same thing. What are you talking about? Like, you're not perfect. Exactly. So no, it was just one of those things where, you know, it is what it is. It happened, you know, and there's no explanation. There's no flag. There's no flag to explain anything. You know, but I think what was more debilitating is that the next play, you know, Jeff Kelly picked up what was a fumble apparently and stepped out about the 8-yard line, because I know it because he told me. We were playing in Toronto together. And so they gave him a touchdown at the end of the game. So not only did they win the game, they beat us by 10 points. And no, that was like probably one of the more tough games of my career. You know, they had a great team. Kansas State, Bishop, the whole night. I mean, those guys were studs. And Coach Snyder had them rocking and rolling, and they could have played a national title and competed for one that year.
Absolutely, man. Well, I guess another one here is, how are you spending your quarantine time? What have you done with your downtime here?
You know what? It's a great question. We're still been very busy with our business. You know, so we've been working pretty much full time, kind of splitting it from the home and office. Doing a little fishing, did some catfishing. You know, spend some more time with your family. And I'm kind of like on my son and daughter a little bit more now about school, because I got a little bit more time to kind of check them out. But no, things are things are good, man. Things are going well. I'm obviously a lot of videos, for different organizations and business meetings. And so that having those videos and things has been great because you can connect with people and still feel like you're staying in contact. So just like we're doing right now, it's, sometimes like during this, the face-to-face stuff just wasn't going to work, but with technology and people being smart and getting ahead of it pretty quick, we're able to stick together and have some great conversations and do some good out there still in the world.
Awesome. All right. Well, last question we got in here for you is, who is your favorite sports hero? And maybe that's varied from when you were growing up, from when you were in college to, I mean, even when you were in the NFL. I mean, who's some of your sports heroes, I guess, let's say, as you were growing up and even still to this day?
Yeah, I mean, I was younger. I was a John Elway, Michael Jordan. Those are the guys that, were the best of the best. That's why I wore number 7. I actually wore number 23 at one point in my football career too. Actually, a couple times. So they were just inspiring. When you've got a player that is at the top of the top and performing at such great levels, I get mesmerized by that. And growing up, you want to be like them. And so they were pivotal in terms of me staying engaged with sports and trying to give everything that I had to be the best and to compete. And hopefully, someday I'll get a chance to tell that to them in person. And I'm looking forward to that day.
So, and I lied. I got one more question. Michael Jordan or LeBron?
Okay. What's that?
Michael Jordan or LeBron?
On, man.
We might have to do a whole other thing on this.
Michael.
All right.
Yeah.
Right. You've been watching The Last Dance?
Is that another talk? Is that another talk now that I said that?
No, we might have to have discussion later. But have you been watching The Last Dance?
A little bit of it. A little bit. I need to. I hit the first episode a little bit, and I got to get back on it. So, but no, that's a pretty cool thing. I'm looking forward to binging that too.
That's what I'm doing. I'm recording it, and I'm going to binge the whole thing because I don't like to wait. But well, that wraps it up for this week's episode. Again, Eric, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you to all those guys that are watching. We hope that you stay healthy, you stay safe, and that you continue to tune in on this series weekly. Next week, quick announcement, May 14th, 1 p.m. We'll be right back here on Team Jack Live. We'll have special guest, former Husker and current Kansas City Royal, Alex Gordon, will be joining us. So make sure you get registered. You can tune in for that. Visit teamjack.foundation.org/live to make a donation. And Eric, you got anything else for us today before we wrap this up?
Well, I just want to say to you, congratulations on a great career retirement. It's a new step in your life. So, good luck with all that, and keep in touch with me. Love to keep this going. Best to Team Jack and the organization. I think they're wonderful, and go Big Red.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for all you do in the fight against pediatric brain cancer for Team Jack. Fun catching up as always. And again, guys, we'll see you next week. I'm your host, Jeremiah Searles, and that's Team Jack Live.
Bye, Jeremiah.
See you, buddy.